The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama, an interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
Welcome to Armed Alabama with your hosts, Judge Rusty Johnston and Adam Strange. Thank you for joining us tonight, and as always, we appreciate you turning in to listening to us.
This is Judge Rusty Johnston. You know, we talk about pistols, revolvers, shotguns, ammunition, concealed carry, personal defense training, and attacks on our God-given right to protect ourselves, our families, our state, and our nation. You're going to have to excuse Adam a little bit. He's got coughs or crud coming back from the airplane trip, so if you hear a little gurgling or coughing over there, we'll take care of it. Adam, you were out in Wichita. One thing I want to mention, we're going to try to take all phone calls and questions tonight, so text, phone call, in your questions on any subject related to firearms, training, gun rights, the law, to this radio station, which is 34, make sure I've got the right number, 343-100106, just like the call letters. Now, you text them in, we see them on the board here, you call them in, and we will take them. We've also got several giveaways we're going to give out in a minute. We'll go ahead and throw the first one out. In the AR-15, what does AR stand for? The winner of that is going to get a nice T-shirt. You pick the size that has an AR-15 on it. But, Adam, what did you do when you were out in Wichita on business, correct?
Yes, sir. I was on business. It was a good trip. Wichita, Kansas is great. When I was there, I tried to click my heels 3 times together so I can get back, but that didn't quite work out, so I had to catch a flight.
Adam,
it's good to be back here.
You wanted to talk about 7 points of shooting while we waited for some calls?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we just talk about some basics of firearm shootings. You know, this is not probably the end-all, the be-all, but this is a good methodology to utilize for a handgun, shotgun, and rifle. And it's the NRA 7 points of shooting. And those 7 points are stance, grip, sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control, breathing, and follow-through. So most particularly, we'll talk about the pistol tonight, utilizing the 7 points of shooting. And so we'll start with stance. With stance is, good, solid stance, feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent. For those of you who played softball or baseball, think about maybe a stance to catch a ball, shortstop or something like that, where you have your glove out and ready to catch the ball, and you're kind of leaning forward. You're ready. Your anticipation of that ball maybe coming to you.
You don't look like you're going to fall over,
exactly.
Push over backwards.
And so instead of having the glove in your hand, think about the pistol or handgun in your hand. So what next thing is grip. So if you have the pistol or the handgun in your hand, proper grip is very important. So with a pistol, you want to have your hand all the way up on the back strap. This is your strong hand. If you're right-handed, that'll be your right hand. If you're left-handed, that'll be your left hand.
And that's for semi-automatic, of course.
Yes. So you'll have your hand all the way up on the back strap, and with your support hand, you can lay it in on the pistol. It's kind of hard to describe over the microphone. I got my hands up to the microphone, but I don't know if you can see it through the microphone.
I don't think they can. If they do, we don't want them calling.
But we want a really good, firm handshake grip on the firearm.
And if I've always taught, you want about maybe 70% of your strength with your dominant hand and maybe 30% with your non-dominant hand. Your non-dominant hand isn't just there as a dead hand. You need to use your non-dominant hand.
Exactly. The good Lord gave us the opposable thumb, so we need to utilize it, whether it's support hand or strong side.
Adam, let's take a call, and then we'll jump back into and that is from Charles,
okay,
who
great.
I believe is our first caller. Maybe he's calling in to win our T-shirt. Charles, are you on the line?
Yeah, does that stand for automatic rifle?
It does not, but that's a good try. Thank you, Charles.
Well, let me ask you something else right
Go
quick.
ahead.
Are you familiar with the document 7277?
It sounds real
State
familiar.
Department-
Give me a little more.
State Department document 7277. You can't really understand gun control in this country without you look at that document. It was signed by President Kennedy in 1961.
I have
And
read
it's
it. Yeah. Yeah.
You can Google it, and anybody out there listening ought to Google it and look at it. It'll shock you to death on what President Kennedy and every president and every administration since then has been instigating, and that's what saw this closing of all these military bases. And if you read that document, you'll see what kind of agreement we had with the United Nations and what the United Nations, what the plans were for the United Nations, and it goes deeper than just handgun control.
Well, you're
really
right.
is.
And the problem with that is in every country that's been implemented, let's take some of the African countries, what's happened when they've given up their small arms, the people, they've been massacred by the military.
Well,
I mean,
the genocide
easy as that.
occurs, and see, that's what people don't understand. They trust their government, and the founding fathers, when they drew up the Constitution, said, "Hey, we don't trust government.
Right.
We don't trust man.
Right.
So let's chain him down by the bounds of the Constitution." And we've
Absolutely.
gotten so far away from that we're trusting men to do the right thing. And hey, all you got to do is go back to the list of history of mankind, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
You got it.
And
Who said
so
that?
we
Who said that,
not
Charles?
only protect our
Charles, who said
right
power
to ours
corrupts?
individually, but the right as a nation.
Hang on. Charles, who said power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely?
That's right.
Who
And so,
who said that?
who said that?
Yeah, I'm trying to give you something away.
You know, who said that? Power corrupts, absolute power. You know, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you. I was trying Lord Acton in Britain. He also exchanged letters with Robert E. Lee, and Lee told him, said the victory over the South means that we're going to have a centralized government, ever more aggressive abroad and more despotic at home. How about that? In 1866.
Hey, but people don't realize it, but that's what the war between the states were all about.
Yeah, well, that takes some deep reading,
dissolving states' rights and bringing under a federalism. And I just finished a book called "The Real Abraham Lincoln."
Got to run.
Boy,
I've read that.
that was not
Good one. We're going to have that whole show on that subject. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. All right, Elliot. Elliot, you there?
I'm here.
All right. You want to answer the question, or you have a question for us?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the AR and AR-15 stands for Armor Light Rifle.
You have it. You've got it. And we have now. Let me ask you this: we have I can leave them all here, but what size guy are you? You a big guy, medium guy? Because
I'm actually a small guy. I weigh about medium to a large.
Okay. Would you know? I would say we ought to leave you an extra large here then, because they tend to shrink a little. But you tell me. Would you? I mean, that's what I would say.
If you've got a large, I'd prefer that, sir.
Okay, we'll leave it here. If there's a problem, email me at thejudge@armedalabama.com, and we'll switch it out. But you come by the station tomorrow, the next day, whenever you want to, and it'll be waiting for you.
Okay, thank you, man.
Hold up.
I'm glad y'all are on the air, and I wish you success on your show.
Great. Stay on the line just a minute so the screener can get your name. All right?
Okay.
Thanks.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, Adam, let's finish up.
Sure.
The 7 points of shooting.
So we discussed stance, we discussed grip. So next too is sight alignment and sight picture. Those kind of go hand in hand. So the sight alignment is the actual alignment of the sights, the front sight to the rear sight, and the sight picture is the picture of what you actually see when you're looking down the barrel of a rifle or a shotgun, or looking down the sights of your handgun. So with the sight picture is your front sight will always be in focus. That will need to be in focus, and the rear sight will be kind of fuzzy, and the target will be kind of fuzzy. But that front sight needs to be clear, crisp, and in focus.
If you're shooting at a person, center mass generally.
Correct. All right, so we want to go over once again our social media contacts. Our Facebook is Armed Alabama Radio 106.5. Our Twitter account is Armed Alabama 106.5 FM. And our website, of course, is armedalabama.com. You can come on there and check our podcast. Thank you for joining us.
We'll be back in a moment.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddique at Remax Partners, 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Mamoon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net. If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
All right, we're back, and this is Armed Alabama with Judge Rusty Johnston and Adam Strange. So before we left for the break, we were talking about the NRA 7 points of shooting, and we just discussed sight alignment, a sight picture. The next, probably is the most important thing with a handgun, is trigger control. Trigger control is not slapping wildly on the trigger, but pressing the trigger lightly.
Or as my father used to say, squeezing it like a lemon.
Squeeze or press the trigger. You don't want to slap the trigger. You want to squeeze the trigger until the weapon goes off. And then if it's an auto, when it goes off, you ease the trigger back out. And this, of course, you're practicing at a range to get used to it. So you ease the trigger back out, and you can actually feel the mechanism reset. Once that trigger resets, you do not have to allow that trigger to come out anymore. So once it resets, that sear resets or that striker resets, then you're ready to squeeze the trigger again or press the trigger again to fire your next round. So you minimize movement there, and you, with the minimization of movement within your hand, within your trigger finger, that minimization increases accuracy with that handgun tremendously.
Adam, let me throw out another question so
Sure.
we can get some callers. This is for a PMag, I think it's a Gen 3 AR-15 magazine with a window, 30 rounds, PMag. I guess it's valued about $17. And the question is, who designed the AR-15? That's who originally designed the AR-15. If you know that, call or text in, and we will take the winner's call or text, and you get a PMag for if you have an AR-15. All right, Adam.
Okay, so we discussed stance, grip, sight alignment, sight picture, and trigger control. The next is breathing. Ours may not be necessarily a tremendously important thing for a handgun, but it can be a very important thing for a precision rifle is breathing. And, of course, you want to fire your shot right after the apex of your breath, and which is a really good time to do that, because if you're breathing or breathing heavily and you're trying to fire your firearm, your diaphragm moving the air in and out of your lungs can actually move your arms, Judge.
And I've found a good way to handle that is to almost hyperventilate. Take 6 or 8 breaths, and then you really don't, and this is precision shooting.
Yes.
Take 6 or 8 breaths, you get a lot of oxygen in your bloodstream, and then you really don't even have to breathe when you're taking that shot.
And then right after that breath, and during that lull between one breath and the next is the absolute, to me, in my opinion, the best time to take your shot. And lastly is follow through. And follow through is really good with a handgun. And so while you're practicing on the range, is when you fire your firearm. So when you think about, when you're practicing, you're thinking about stance, grip, sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control, breathing, and follow through. So that's everything all and above. So think about each of those steps as you go and you fire each round with that handgun out on the range is like, okay, is my stance correct? Is my grip right? Sight alignment, sight picture. Am I doing a correct reset on the trigger? Think about how that trigger feels. Can you feel the mechanism? And then, of course, breathing.
All right, we have a caller there. Matt, let's take him and see if he's got our answer. Matt, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you,
right.
Matt. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Who designed the, you want to answer our question, or do you have a question for us?
No, I wanted to say for the original designer, was it Eugene Stoner?
You got it, Matt, and you have a PMAG 30-round AR magazine here, and actually, I'm sorry, it's a Generation 2, but it has the window, and I think it's black. But we'll have it here for you, and if you would hang on to the call screen, you can get your name and put your name on it, and then, next few days, try to get by. Any question for us?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. We have some pretty informed listeners here.
Oh, we do.
Maybe we get some harder questions.
Let's take Malin, and maybe we can do something for him. Malin, did you want to answer the question, or do you have one for us?
No, that was all I had. McNamara and Kennedy and all those people there, they believed in Stoner and his doings, and it was a real good idea, I believe.
Well, it turned out to be. You have to change kind of your way of thinking, and it took a long time to do that. But, thank you for the comment.
Yes.
I may want to make a comment because my DA reminded me that I kind of changed the law in this state that under the self-defense law that you have no duty to retreat, of course. That's a doctrine in this state that the legislature passed. However, if you're committing an illegal act, that doesn't apply to you. You do have a duty to retreat. And I had a case maybe 5 years ago where a defendant was actually a felon in possession of a gun. And I held during the charge conference or jury instruction conference that since he was a felon in possession of a gun, that he was per se in violation of the law, and he couldn't use the stand your ground law or no duty to retreat. He couldn't use that. And that was upheld by the Supreme Court. And, I tried so many cases that they just all become a blur. And my former DA reminded me of that the other day. And as he said, the scary thing is that how far does that go? If you're drinking in public, but you're not intoxicated, you just have a drink in public, that's illegal. Does that cover you also? Do you then lose the stand your ground law option or provision of the law that says you can stand your ground or other offenses? So we don't know. But I'm kind of sorry that came up looking back on it. It's not real complicated, yet it is. But Mississippi, there was good news. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals sent a certified question to the Mississippi Supreme Court. They have a law very similar to us in Mississippi that says you can bring your car. In Mississippi, you don't have to have a permit, pistol permit, to carry one in your car. Your car is an extension of your home. And by the way, they don't have 16-year-olds driving around shooting people and all that. So an employee took his car onto the employer's lot, and somebody found out about it, and he was fired by a national defense contractor. He sued and said, hey, Mississippi law says I have a right to do this, even though Mississippi is an at-will employment state. Mississippi Supreme Court said last week, yeah, we are an at-will state, but this is one of the exceptions. You can't fire somebody for exercising a right the legislature has given them, because if that's done, then the right becomes just worthless. They've sent that back to the 11th Circuit. Regardless of what the 11th Circuit rules, Mississippi has established that you can't fire someone for bringing a firearm in their car pursuant to the law and parking it in the parking lot. And that's a real good development in the state. And their law is almost identical to ours. So that was a good development that took place over there.
Thank you, Judge. That's very interesting to know, and we appreciate you sharing that. Going back to the AR, the Armalite rifle, of course, was designed by Gene Stoner, which was an aerospace engineer. More importantly, and I think the caller brought up before, McNamara. But I think if it hadn't been for Air Force General Curtis LeMay, I don't think
he liked the gun.
He did, and he shot it at a picnic. Somebody,
at a watermelon, right?
Yes, one of the Armalite contractor guys was there and had the rifle in his trunk of his car, and they just grabbed the watermelon that was there at the picnic and let Curtis LeMay shoot the rifle, and he loved it so much that he ordered a whole slew of them on the spot.
Yeah, for Air Force, and it
correct.
The Army and the military kept trying to sabotage that gun. They took it to the Arctic Circle, used ammunition that was different. It was just amazing how it finally came in use.
It was blocked numerous times, and of course, Robert S. McNamara and the Whiz Kids, they kept pushing it. And of course, we're always bringing up Robert S. McNamara. The S in his name is actually strange.
Oh my God!
Yes, just a little tidbit.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Well, he finally almost had a mental breakdown at the end of the Vietnamese War, or at the end of his tenure, the Vietnamese War, and it's a shame, when the rifles were sent to Vietnam, they were told they didn't have to be cleaned, and there's no rifle that doesn't have to be cleaned. By the way, let me give you the results of last week's poll, and the question was that if you could have one rifle in an end-of-the-world scenario, which would it be? And we listed a number. AR-15 won with 44%. And then the M1 Garand was number 2 with 22%. Mossberg shotgun was next. Well, actually, it was a tie, three-way tie. 11% the Mossberg, and the Marlin 336, 11%. And my favorite, the AR-10 had 11%. And the method to my madness with the AR-10 was that you could take something down big game to a person, to something smaller, but it's a military round also, and that if the military collapsed like an AR-15, you could perhaps find or scrounge that ammunition for it. That was my method of madness. There's a lot to be said for 22 also, but you get the right rounds in an AR-10, you can take down eventually a concrete block wall. So it's got, a lot going for it. It shoots, we'll say the .308 Winchester round, which is a great round for shooting deer with, and a great round for being a sniper with. It's an all-around great round, and a lot of people make it, but only Armalite right now has the rights to use the name AR-10. But it's a real good round, a real good gun, because you don't get a lot of recoil with it like you would, let's say, with a Remington 7600, which I have as a bolt action, which will about take your shoulder off.
That's a good point. And there's also, a wide selection of that round for the AR-15, the AR-10 in different weights, of course, for different types of shooting, or maybe even different game. Right. 168 grain Sierra boat tail is probably my favorite for precision shooting.
It's like most people choose 5.56. Hopefully, you've got a gun that shoots both. But 223 has probably 100 different type rounds that you can use in it, and you can get every type round from shooting gopher to shooting people with a 223 round. So it's something really good to use. We're going to have another question for you when we come back. Now, this is going to be something you're going to have to remember your history on, and because we're going to be giving you away the history book.
All right, we'll be back. This is Armed Alabama.
When you're running down our country, man, you're walking on the fighting side of me. You're walking on the fighting side of me. Running down the way of life, our fighting men have fought and died to keep.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
We'll look for mostly clear skies tonight with temperatures in the lower 50s at daybreak. For Wednesday, mostly sunny with isolated afternoon showers, highs in the mid-70s. And the outlook for Thursday, sunny with highs in the lower 70s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
From Fox 10 News, I'm Monique Slagan from Talk 106.5. Alabama lawmaker says he's filing an impeachment resolution against Governor Robert Bentley in the wake of a scandal. Republican Representative Ed Henry introducing the resolution Tuesday afternoon. It was spurred by Bentley's admission that he made inappropriate remarks to his former aide, Rebecca Mason. The resolution will likely be sent to the House Rules Committee for consideration, and it's not clear if it will have enough support to move forward. A federal judge in New Orleans approves an estimated $20 billion settlement. It resolves years of litigations over the 2010 BP oil spill. The settlement includes $5.5 billion in Civil Clean Water Act penalties and billions more to cover environmental damage, plus other claims by Gulf states. Lastly, at a time when jobs are moving south of the border has become a major issue in the presidential campaign, Ford is planning to build a new auto assembly plant in Mexico. The move will create about 2,800 jobs and shift some small car production from the U.S. From Talk 106.5, Lenny Sagan, Fox 10 News.
When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time. Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. When?
This is Judge Rusty Johnston for Armed Alabama. We're taking your calls and text at 251-343-0106. Let me throw out another question for you because you'll win Brian McClanahan's book, 9 Presidents Who Tried to Screw Up America and 4 Who Tried to Save Her. Now here's the question. Why were the British troops marching to Lexington and Concord? You know, were they out there just having a parade? That would seem pretty stupid. Why were they marching to Lexington and Concord? Let me throw this out to you. Did anybody see Milton McGregor's press conference today or yesterday? He got up there and said the Supreme Court's opinion, which clearly interprets the Alabama Constitution when it says no gambling, he said it was corrupt, it wasn't worth the paper it was written on, and he and his people, he had a sheriff with him, and he also had his lawyer with him, they weren't going to abide by it. To me, when I saw it, it sounded like Phenix City back in the 50s, and just open hostility to the rule of law. You and I walk around without a pistol permit, we're going to be arrested. But Milton McGregor can do that openly on television and defy the rule of law. It's really amazing to me. Adam, you had a christening, not of a child, but of a ship the other day. What was that about?
Yes, thank you, Judge. My daughter was selected to be the flower girl for a christening that took place in Pascagoula, Mississippi, at Ingalls Shipbuilding, and that ship was the USS Ralph Johnston DDG-114. It's the Aegis destroyer. It was an amazing event to honor an amazing individual, and of course the ship's namesake, Ralph Johnston. Ralph was a Medal of Honor winner, and he jumped on a grenade in Vietnam to save his fellow Marines in 1968. It was a very inspirational and moving ceremony. There were several times that I kind of had to choke back some emotion, but it was just an amazing event to see his family there and others talk about who he was, what kind of individual he was, what a good Christian he was, and a great American. So it was definitely a awe-inspiring event, and I was extremely honored to be there, and I was extremely honored for my daughter to be the flower girl for that christening event.
Of course, my family went, and they were just amazed. They loved it. And speaking of Vietnam, in contrast to what the liberals said, there was a bloodbath after the communists left. How amazing. Adam, you and I went down to McCoy's about a month ago, and you were looking for a shotgun for your wife to shoot trout.
Yeah, one of the things that we like to do, and we just hardly don't get a lot of time to do it, and that's shoot trap, whether it's wobble trap or shoot skeet or anything else like that. Of course, I have the tried and true Remington 1100, but I was trying to find my wife something that shot a little bit softer, something that she can manage and handle. And McCoy's Outdoor, they had a great selection there. And I mean, right off the bat, when I walked in there and talking to Wes and some of the others there, they were very, very knowledgeable. And right off the bat, I seen a Beretta Turkey. Is a 20 gauge auto with interchangeable chokes, and it was absolutely perfect. It's really what she was looking for, and it was just a really good selection that they had.
Yeah, I was surprised because they weren't trying to push the highest. That's a high-end gun, but it was lightly used.
Yes.
And they didn't hesitate to bring out a used shotgun to try to give you a good deal. And that's the nice thing about them. They're when they saw somebody like you, they thought, well, you can't afford the top of the line. No, we'll make a deal. And as I say, in the old K&B down the street from me at Spring Hill Avenue and I-65.
Right, it's just west of I-65.
Good people, so stop by and see them. They're sponsor of this show. Let's see if John has the answer or has a question for us. John?
Yeah, I was going to answer the question for
you.
Go
ahead.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
They were out the British service troops were out to disarm the American colonists and the militia.
What do you mean by disarm? You're close.
They were going to take away Lexington and Concord's guns.
Well, I'm going to give it to you. Yeah, there was an armory there. There was an armory there at Concord. Yeah. And you have one. You're going to really enjoy it. Brian McClanahan's book, 9 Presidents Who Screwed Up America and 4 Tried to Save Her. And if you'd hang on the line, we'll get your name so it'll be marked here and you can come by to get it. Any other questions for us?
No, we're good. You should talk more about Mausers, though.
Yeah. Oh, I tell you, my son has a Mauser, and he bought it for $150, rusted. And over a few weeks, I put a little oil on it and lightly, with quadruple steel wool, rub it down, and in about maybe 2 months, it turned out beautifully.
Yeah,
really did.
A regular tack driver, man.
Yeah. I was a little afraid to shoot it the first time, so I put it in a vise with a string, and it hit about on the bullseye.
Well, if you want to give me the markings on it, I can tell you where it's from.
Well, I tell you, I figured out it's one of those Czech, Bruno's or whatever, but that went to Turkey. It's got the Turkish markings on it. Yeah.
So it's probably a Czechoslovakian made in Brno.
Yeah.
Probably about 1928.
Yeah. So real neat, but it was amazing how little work it took to bring it back to life.
Oh, yeah. No, those are great rifles. One of my favorites.
Yeah. Remember to hang on. Thank you. Remember to hang on.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Some of those old military rifles, I can't remember the number we heard, but we talked to a salesman who said something like, commercial sport rifles are meant to last, let's say, 5,000 rounds, 10,000 rounds, but a military rifle is meant to last 100,000 rounds. And if you can get an old military rifle, even one that old, they will just last forever because most of them have really not been used.
Yes, and the main thing with military is that they have chrome-lined bores and chambers, and that really helps them last a long time with those because those are very, very hard. Anytime you have those type of finishes, it's very, very hard, and they're corrosion resistant. And of course, it really reduces wear. I've got a K98 as well, and those old military rifles and relics. They're really fun to shoot. Probably one of my favorite weapons to shoot, and I pull out every now and again. is an M1 Garand. I absolutely would not trade anything for that rifle. It is just a blast to shoot. And, of course, you have that very satisfactory or satisfying sound when the last round is fired, and of course the clip.
That is a clip in that case.
Not. So that when it springs out of the firearm, it makes
Bing.
that very ching, type sound, and so that's very satisfying.
Let me mention our current poll, Adam. Go to our website, armedalabama.com, and don't forget our YouTube site, Armed Alabama, because I've got a lot of new uploads there. But our current poll is, which term do you think describes the AR-15 rifle accurately, and which would help the public understand what we do with these popular guns? America's rifle, tactical rifle, battle rifle, general purpose rifle, utility rifle, sport rifle, or defensive rifle? Go and vote on it. We don't keep record of who you are, so you don't have to worry about that. But we have a lot of bad press because a lot of people think AR stands for assault rifle, and it doesn't. It stands for originally for Armalite, AR, Armalite. So go to armedalabama.com where we have archives of past programs there too that you can listen to.
And so while you're there, please go ahead and listen to our podcasts of our previous shows.
Last week being especially fun.
We're going to go to somebody else online?
All right, we have on the line Eric.
Hello.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, Eric. Glad you could join us.
Yes, thanks for having me. I picked up several months ago a fun little Henry 22 Magnum lever-action rifle that I've noticed recently you can't find ammo for the thing anymore. Do you have any information on that? It seems like that stuff's dried up.
Well, I'll tell you, I like the 22 Magnum, but
I do too.
But the 17 millimeter or whatever, that has kind of replaced the 22 Magnum. If I was you, I would go to the internet. There are a couple of search engines, gunbot.net being one, but just go to Google and type in ammunition search engines. That's going to be your best place to go for ammunition like that. But you're right; it's kind of come in disfavor. I hate to say disfavor.
It's just not as popular as what it once was.
Yeah, there you go. It's a good round, and there's that Kel-Tec pistol. Can't think,
right.
When pistols are named numbers, I can't remember them.
I think it's a PMR 30.
There you go.
I don't have one, but
yeah, I was hoping.
It seemed like fun, I had 30 rounds in a little handgun.
and for a lot of people, that's a great self-defense weapon.
Right.
That's all they can handle.
A good 22 Magnum revolver.
Right.
Is perfect.
I was hoping that would bring back kind of the 22 Magnums, but I don't know why 22 long rifles have kind of disappeared. They're coming back now, but that was nuts.
So the ammo glut, it seems, is just it's fallen out of favor, or what? I mean, what's going on? It's weird.
Here's what I think it is. I think it's people being scared of what Obama's going to do. AmmoSeek I've just gone to, and that's one to look at. And you can go to that and look at rimfire and caliber, 22 mag, and that would be one you'd want to look at. And it will tell you, every place in the country you can get 22 Magnum from.
Right.
And it'll rank them, how expensive or whatever. And that's what you're going to have to do. And don't worry about the government having your name. Listen, they've got our names, so don't worry about that. But
I used to serve for them, so for the Constitution anyway.
Yeah, so it's better to go ahead and order 1,000 rounds, 2,000 rounds than.
Well, it's weird though. Every place I've looked, unless it's a recent development, it's either really expensive or it's just not available.
Yeah, I'm saying, I like CCI. Here is CCI VMAX, and I'm going to have to get you after the break at, I can't quite tell, Patriot Outfitters, No Limit, and now this is a nice. It's like I say, the VMAX with the polymer tip. We're going to take the break, but listen after the break, and I'll tell you a little about it.
We'll be back. This is Armed Alabama.
When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time. If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline. Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Now you boys put those guns down. Say what? Well, we're not just gonna let you walk out of here. Who's we, sucker? Smith and Wesson and me.
And we're not going to let you walk out of Armed Alabama tonight. This is Judge Rusty Johnston along with NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange, and we're answering your calls on guns, firearms, and on any type of law, self-defense, carry laws in Alabama, but we know something about the national laws. Don't be afraid to text them in, call them in, whatever method you want to get them in. Let me give you this quote. By placing a premium on recent cases rather than the language of the Constitution, the court makes it dangerously simple for future courts using the technique of interpretation to operate as a continuing constitutional convention. And that is Coleman versus Alabama, a case before the U.S. Supreme Court in 1970. And that's what we have right now. Anytime the Supreme Court meets, they can change the Constitution, and that wasn't the way it was meant to be. To our 22 Magnum caller, just browsing around at a place called Patriot Outfitters, 22 Magnum, 30 grain VMAX ammunition by CCI. That's a good brand. Probably don't want that, but that's top of the line for 50 rounds, I suppose it is, $17.85, and there's no limit on those. So you just got to get out on the web and go to those search engines.
Okay,
right.
We have a few callers, Judge, so let's go ahead and
Aaron.
take some calls.
I think we have Aaron first. Aaron, you're on there.
How are y'all doing?
Well, we're doing fine. Aaron, you got a question?
Well, no, actually, I got an answer, Your Honor. Y'all asked last week. Hold on, let me turn that straight. Y'all asked everybody last week, what gun would y'all take in an end of the world scenario?
Right.
And I would have to say it'd be a 556 XI by Sig, chambered in either 7.62 by 39 or the 5.56. And I'll tell you why, because those are the most readily available rounds and the most readily available magazines, and they have all of the positives of an AR and an AK and virtually none of the drawbacks.
Now, is it good for killing zombies?
Everything's good for killing zombies.
Okay.
I mean, you can kill a zombie with a
.22 long rifle if you know how to shoot.
Okay.
I mean, the clear tip of front sight post center both vertically and horizontally, and the rear sight aperture.
That's legitimate.
That's all you need to know.
That's legitimate. Good choice. Good choice.
Hey, I love what y'all are doing. I am actually across the bay in Pensacola, and
Okay.
I actually listened to y'all last week, and I love it.
You
Y'all
listening
keep it
on
up.
the internet, or can you pick up the signal?
I can pick up the signal.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us, Aaron, all the way from Pensacola.
All right, Charles. Charles, what's your question or comment?
Comment on a good ammunition supplier is called LuckyGunner.com.
I've ordered from them too.
They're
Sure
out
have.
of Tennessee, and I've had very good luck with them. They ship your ammunition real quick to your home or business, wherever you want it shipped, and I've had no problem with them. So I wanted to offer that to your listeners.
Yeah, thank you. They actually, if you don't know it, they were sued by someone who was son was killed in the Aurora theater shooting. Just sued off the bat, claiming the ammunition came from there, and the judge popped them for a bunch of attorney fees and costs, which he should have. And they had the money, and I can't remember they were going to give it away or use it for a good gun cause at one time. So, yeah, they've ordered from them before. Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, Charles.
Yes, sir.
That's
You're
the
very
way,
welcome. Love your show.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. That's the way, really, just easy to buy ammunition is that order it online. You can buy it in bulk. You can get it cheaper.
If you shoot a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we have WD. WD.
Hey, thank you for coming on the radio show tonight.
I got a question about some of the laws our legislators are thinking about, and there's one in particular that they are saying they're going to give everybody that drives a car in Alabama the right to be able to carry a gun without a permit.
Right.
I really, and I certainly am a gun rights supporter, but I don't know that I want everybody that's on these highways carrying guns in the car, because there's a lot of folks that drive crazy, and some of them, they're going to cause a lot of problems, I believe. What's your thoughts?
Well, let me mention, Mississippi has that. Missouri has that. A lot of states have that. You have to otherwise be legal to carry a gun. You can't be, a felon or a 14. Well, let's see. You can drive 16. You can't be a 16-year-old. What they're saying is your car is an extension of your house. And therefore, assuming you're otherwise legal, you're not a felon or whatever, and it hadn't caused any problems in those states. And so they're just giving you the right to extend the castle doctrine into your car. And it's really worked out. The opposition has seemed to come from the sheriffs who, make a lot of money because some people just want to carry the gun in their car for trips.
Yes.
And I looked at the other states, and if it hadn't caused any trouble there, most people who carry guns are much more responsible than the average person. Go ahead.
I agree with that, but most of them that carry guns can get a permit. The cost of the permit is the only negative to it, and at least that they at least had some background checks to make sure that they should be carrying a gun. We had a death. We had somebody here convicted just a week or two ago from shooting somebody on the highway because they got in some kind of altercation and thought it was somebody that had an altercation with before. You could hop out of the car and shoot somebody in a moment of rage.
Do you know whether they had a concealed carry permit or not?
I do not know.
Yeah. Well,
that doesn't. Yeah, because a gun is. If people carry guns and don't realize that how quick a decision can change all lives involved, real in a heartbeat.
No question about it. I'm going to look into that a little further and give you a report next week. How about that?
Okay. One quick thought, because I hadn't talked to you before.
Yeah.
And many years ago, my daddy, I needed some legal advice. My daddy sent me to a lawyer in town named Sam Johnson. I don't know if you happen to know him or not.
Well, that would be either my father or my grandfather. so it'd be one of them. Depends on how long ago.
Like 90 nowadays.
Yeah. It would be. What year would it have been in?
67.
Probably my father then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were from the same area of Mississippi, so.
Oh yeah, Clark County, Mississippi. Yeah. Wow, fun folks.
Yeah, they were friends, and he said, "Well, if you need some advice."
Well, good talk. Listen, good talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to the next call. LD.
Hey guys, this is a great show. I'm really glad y'all started up.
Thank you. Appreciate you joining us. You calling here from Mobile? Where are you calling from tonight?
Mobile.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Armed Alabama. What's your question?
Just your opinion. What's the better rifle, the AR-15, the Colt AR-15, or the Sig-Sauer M4? I'm trying to make a decision.
Well, I'll tell you this. Sig-Sauer does not have an M4. Colt is the only company that can use the name M4, just for a lot of technical reasons.
Uh-huh.
I hate to say this. I love Colt. I've had one since '83. Colt has been on the rocks financially. I would go with the Sig-Sauer. My son has one. I'd go with them, frankly.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, M4 is kind of a general term referring to the configuration of the rifle.
It is, but it's also like Kleenex.
Yeah.
It's like M16, and Colt's the only one allowed to use that name. And those SIGs, my son has that one, and it's a fine weapon. And Colt somehow has managed to screw up financially. Let's try to get
they did it themselves.
Mark in. Mark, we got 30 seconds. If we can't get you, we'll hold you over. Go ahead. Wait, there's no holdover. Hurry up.
Think about this. Your previous caller about carrying a gun in the car. An issue I see with that is fine. Carry the gun in the car for your protection, extension of your home. I understand that. But what if you see a situation developing and you want to pick that gun up and go walk to that situation to go protect somebody or protect one of your own? How legal is that? You really need to have that permit.
I'll tell you, if you have it outside, not concealed, it's legal. The problem's always been you couldn't carry a gun in a car. You had to have a permit. The car was the problem. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. I want to remind you to look us up on Facebook, Armed Alabama Radio 106.5.
And go to YouTube and see some of our training videos.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is Armed Alabama.
Until next week.
We don't burn our trap cards down on Main Street, 'cause we like living right and being free.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddiq at RE/MAX Partners, 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon